everyone, Jester Bell is back and I am on my way to the Batman premiere finally. I've got the Joker hat, I've got the black coat, I've got the pins on and the necklaces. I look like a proper nerd, and this is me taking a little video of me before I've seen the movie so that I can get my reaction after it. You'll get my review after I've seen the movie, and I'll see you at the theater. We are at the theater, and I was just telling Warrior Woman 91 on her channel. Warrior Woman 91 came up and interviewed me and asked me what I think, and I said I think this is going to be an Iron Man 2008 moment for DC, and I'm about to go in and watch it, and I'll let you guys know if that's true. Batman balloons. Watching that floor show, I'm sat down here. Ice cream, root beer, popcorn. I went all out today. Barley bag. I went all out today. This is Batman. This is the first live-action Batman I've ever seen in the theater, guys. I'm so excited I could hear it playing in another theater. I actually got in an empty theater because I guess more people went to the 4 o'clock than I was able to. But, oh well, theater all to myself. Can't wait to watch. Hello everyone, Jester Bell is back, and it is the morning after I saw the Batman. I gave it a 12 out of 10 right there in the theater. I gave that online. If I had done this review last night though, not only would I have been extremely tired, but it would have been just me raving and going on an insane rant about how good it is. You have to understand that this Batman movie is more than just a fantastic, magnificent piece of cinema to me. It is what I've been asking for and what I've been waiting for longer than 5 years, 6 years. This is like not even an apology. This makes up for all the terrible years of DCEU content and disappointment. This is what we should have had all along. It finally feels like a turning point from the DCEU, not for the DCEU, from the DCEU, because that place is unsalvageable at this point. Where do I even begin with this? I had my expectations so high for this movie after the critics were coming in and giving it insanely good reviews, saying the best Batman movie, the best movie ever made. Wouldn't go that far, but the best Batman movie? Sure. If you could make an argument that this is better than The Dark Knight, you could make an argument that this alone that this movie is better. I mean, if you said it was better than The Dark Knight, I would not think you're a crazy person. And that's not hyperbole. This is how excellently this movie was executed. If the Joker was not in The Dark Knight, I would say that this is the best Batman movie. This is the best movie for Batman as a character, and this is the best on-screen Batman, bar none. Robert Pattinson, I still remember the days when I was cringing over the idea that the actor from Twilight was going to play Batman. I was ranting about it. I was upset about it. Bar none, best Batman. My favorite on-screen Batman. No competition. He blows Christian Bale and Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck out of the water. Completely out of the water, my favorite on-screen Batman. The casting in this movie is expert, and it works on so many different levels. It works as a Batman movie first, it works as a comic book movie, something that's specifically adhering to the style and the coloring of graphic novels, something that loves movies and respects the cinematic experience and cinematography. It just works on so many levels. Matt Reeves is the GOAT for making this movie. I'm gushing. I mean, I've had people come to my channel back when I was criticizing Loki and tell me I hate everything. Watch this video if you think I hate everything. I am gushing. I cannot understand any Batman fan watching this movie after our first viewing and giving it less than 10 out of 10. Now, I know that a lot of this is just the initial hype after first seeing a movie. When we watch it more, when we've sat with it more, maybe we'll find more criticisms with it. We'll calm down a bit for sure. But to just have the experience as a Batman fan for this movie. That's why I gave it a 12 out of 10. It worked on so many unbelievable levels after so many disappointing DCU outings. I said right before the movie would come out that this was going to be an Iron Man 2008 situation. It is a far better movie than Iron Man 2008. It is one of the best comic book movies ever executed. I will say that right now. And it's the start of something big. I will say that much. It is the start of something huge if they continue on this pathway. So I'm not going to get into spoilers until the second half of my video, but let me get into a little more details about what I praised about it. I've said it really respects the graphic novel, as an adaptation of graphic novels and how graphic novels are made. Tonally, the most similar to Year One from Batman, but when I'm talking about graphic novels, when the movie opens, and I knew this was going to be like just a 3-course delicious meal when it started, the very way that titles came on the screen. And as a filmmaker and as someone who studies films, I get really particular even how the titles are presented on screen. It just, bam, flashed on for the DC logo. Bam, flashed in the Batman credits. Nothing fancy, no music, nothing fading onto the screen, just bam. And I love that because it's just something that just says very quickly, this is the movie, it's starting. And it felt like I was opening a comic and seeing that first page of a comic that just gives the title of the comic. And how it continued is the color grading of the movie, lots of blues, lots of yellows, lots of reds. And once again, it felt like it was colored the way a comic would be, with lots of specific choices with that. The coloring reminded me a lot of Batman the Animated Series, where everything of that was done with dark paper, with a red sky, so it always felt like it was nighttime. A lot of this takes place at night, but even when it's the daytime, it's a gray, cloudy sky. And that just gives you the tone of how Bruce Wayne feels as a character, but how Gotham as a city feels. And I'll get into that in a second. But that just, it really respected the graphic novel experience with that sort of thing. And there are so many things where I'm like, this is directly out of the comics. This is not a spoiler. The opening monologue from Bruce Wayne in his head talking about what he's doing, right down to the outfit he's wearing outside of the bat suit, straight out of Year One, ripped straight out of Year One, and how he talks. And how he talks out in a lot of comics, giving himself the inner monologue. Catwoman, at one point in this film, is wearing the exact outfit and the exact hairstyling of Year One when you first see her character. That black corset and the black, not even leather, vinyl pants. It was unreal how respectful this was to the source material while still being its own take. Definitely, there were gothic elements to this, things that reminded me of the twistedness of Tim Burton's version of the character, and that really brought out the horror of Gotham and the heightened reality of Gotham, and I loved that. There was Nolan elements as well, things trying to be realistic, like, can't have Edward Nygma called Edward Nygma, has to be Edward Nashton. He's based a bit completely off of the Zodiac Killer, but if I were to sum up in how perfect this movie is in blending all these things together, trying to be a little more grounded, yet heightened, trying to be a comic book adaptation and also a great movie, I would go to the Riddler's portrayal. For much of the movie, when you see him masked, now this is where I'm going to get into spoiler territory. Much of the movie, you see him masked, and he's intimidating, and he's smart as a villain and as a character, but I'm like, yes, this is good, but is it the Riddler? Because I see Riddler as a character who professes to be dangerous and is very smart, but is actually rather pathetic. As soon as he takes off the mask and they capture him and you get him in Arkham Asylum, he is that pathetic character, that person who is deranged, yet incredibly smart, yet incredibly pathetic and needy at the same time. Paul Dano is spot on as the Riddler. He is a Heath Ledger casting as the Riddler, and that's how the writing, and he was given excellent writing to elevate him to that level. He was absolutely perfect. And that was kind of when I threw it at, like, this is perfect. This is everything that they could have done right in this movie. He was absolutely excellent execution, and that just shows how, the movie is able to blend all this together. It looks gorgeous. There are some wonderful dynamic shots. It is by no means a flatly shot movie. There are interesting ways that it went about communicating the story through cinematography. And it felt at the same time like it was very much Matt Reeves' movie, but also just a Batman movie. It's like it's everything at once. So, but let's get into the story elements and Robert Pattinson's performance. Now, what makes Robert Pattinson my favorite Batman so far? Because he's so distinct as a Batman. I feel like Christian Bale mainly played a great Bruce Wayne, that good, polished kind of playboy persona he would show on the outside. His Batman voice was a bit forced, but Robert Pattinson really gets into the depression of Batman and the deranged element and the flaws. And I haven't seen a live action Batman ever executed like that before. And I loved seeing that as a comic book fan because that's what you're dealing with Batman a lot of times when he is in a slump in his own mind, a slum in his own mind, and he doesn't treat people well in this movie, and he pushes himself to a completely unhealthy limit. And he's a freak. Batman is a freak in this movie, and it shows that, and that's what he should be in his methods. Now, this is spoiler territory now, but one of my favorite moments in the movie was the car chase between him and Penguin, and how more than any other Batman car chase I've ever seen, it just showed how crazy the guy is. How the chase, how he flies over, which you saw in the trailer, he flies over the car in like a fiery inferno once Penguin thought he got him, and then he bashes into his car and it flips over a million times, and I'm like, Penguin should be dead, and this is where it's a bit heightened. But and then you can see him walking towards the car and leaning over the side, and it's so scary. This is a Batman where I'm actually intimidated by. I would be intimidated to meet this guy anywhere if he was real, even not as a criminal. This guy is so scary. You really felt that intense presence of the character, but the cinematography there, where he's just like slowly leaning over Penguin's car, and you really get the fear element. It was absolutely incredible. This is the first Batman that's ever given that really freak element to the character. Not just because he's a guy who puts on a suit, but because of what he does, the methods, the extremes he will go to, and the way he believes he is completely justified in everything he does. But he does have an excellent character arc where we do get the softer, heroic elements of Batman by the end of the film, and that's what the character arc is all about, and that's what Batman's all about. So it was everything I could have asked for. I cannot wait to see more of this Batman. And all I could think of in the theater, especially during that car chase scene, was give this Batman a 9-year-old Robin. Do it. Give him a 9-year-old Robin. Give this Batman a 9-year-old boy to raise. I will watch that. Bring Dick Grayson into this universe. Okay, he can be 13. Bring him into this universe. I can't wait to see him. This is the perfect universe for a Robin. It's the perfect universe for so many different characters. I'm getting ahead of myself a bit. Back to the story, I could not find many plot holes with it. I was very engaged with the mystery and trying to figure out myself. The riddles were very well done. There were some very intense moments, and this is where more spoilers come in. But there's a scene where one of Riddler's victims has a bomb attached to his neck, and they have to solve a riddle in order for him to let it go. And he has to give him the information of who this informant is, and he will not do it. And Batman's trying to get him to tell Riddler who it is, and he just will not do it because he says it's going to be worse. And it is so intense. There are so many moments of intensity, like when Batman is talking to Riddler about and he thinks Riddler knows who he is, and it's so well done as into why Batman would think that, and the intensity he's feeling, and and then pulling it back around to not be what he thought it was. And there's moments in the movie where things characters who you don't want to die, who shouldn't die in the moment, explosions you don't want to go off, things happen you don't want to have happen, horrible things happen, and that you didn't expect, and that you would not see in another movie. It's like how Infinity War was the only movie that got to make characters disappear, because in other Marvel movies you wouldn't expect something that terrible to happen. No, this movie, Batman can't always work on everything. Everything can't always be fixed. Things go wrong, and that's what kept me engaged in a large part, because it's like anything could happen watching this movie, and that's why it's intense watching it, and I'm on the edge of my seat, because it doesn't necessarily have to be what I expect is going to happen. Penguin, perfect casting, very much a Sopranos take on the character. I loved it. Once again, something that mixes comic book elements from elements of a more grounded reality and elements of the real world. Jim Gordon, absolutely perfect. I almost called him Jordan Peele. Jeffrey Wright, I loved that casting of his character. We don't get a lot of development on it, but it's still a very nuanced performance. Zoe Kravitz, I really liked as Catwoman. And here's where I'll only give a little bit of a caveat with it. She was a bit of a softer Catwoman than I thought she would be. And the romantic moments with Batman, which were fine, I thought they felt a little bit more obligatory. Like, you have to do this because Batman and Catwoman, rather than really earned and really invested in it. But I feel like I just have to mull over her performance a little bit and see how I feel about her in comparison to other Catwomans. She was very good, but I'm not sure if she was the peak as I was expecting, but it might be because in that point, and for that aspect, I had my expectations a little bit too high, and I just need to see her a few more times. So much I could talk about with how good this movie is. Such a good character arc, such a great understanding of the Batman universe and the politics, and how the city itself is scarred, and it's very much like Batman himself, that someone who was scarred and who kind of became a freak as a result of it. That is Gotham. That is a Gotham I want to stay in and what I want to explore more. I want to see more of the characters in this universe. So, big spoiler, I've been talking about this on my channel for a while. Yes, they do get a tease for the Joker, played by Barry Keoghan. I've been mispronouncing his name. It's Barry Keoghan, not Keoghan. Barry Keoghan. We just see his silhouette and his voice. I loved his voice. I'm not sure about the laugh yet. It might just grow on me. You really can't beat Mark Hamill's Joker's laugh, I don't think, but the voice was very perfect, and the silhouette looked a lot like Brian Boland's Joker from the comics. And we're in Arkham Asylum, and he's with Riddler in Arkham Asylum. Guess who comes to Arkham Asylum? Anyway, I'm just so excited for all the possibilities. There's so much you could do with this universe. Robin, Joker, Harley, Two-Face, Hugo Strange, just so much, and it's very much it's not an origin movie. It's not an origin movie at all. I was afraid it was going to be too much like Batman Begins. It's not like Batman Begins in a good way. It's not like that at all. It's its own movie, and I'm just so excited of where this universe is going to go. I have so many more videos to talk about. I could just continue on gushing about this movie for an hours on end, but I'm going to have video after video talking about the excellence of this movie. This is the best Batman movie for Batman ever made. I loved all the castings. I loved the story. I loved the writing. I loved the adherence to the source material. I loved the love for cinema and the choices that they made with that. And the soundtrack. The soundtrack marred elements of Hans Zimmer and Danny Elfman and Shirley Walker, all people who worked on Batman the Animated Series, the Nolan movies, and Tim Burton films. Marred all that together and made a fantastic soundtrack as well that really helped carry the film and helped carry the feelings the audience was supposed to have even when there was no dialogue. Excellent. Go watch the movie for yourself. Please watch the movie for yourself. It's perfect. I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10 right now. I know that I'll calm down and probably lower my score later. Maybe. It's a nigh perfect Batman movie, and it cannot be oversold enough, I would say, at this point. I cannot wait to see what Matt Reeves' Batverse is and what happens to DC as a result of this movie, because this is the game changer people who have not been happy with the DCEU have been waiting for. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. I have so many more Batman videos coming up, and I will see you guys next time.